I'm excited about what God's doing in and through this church. That's why Guts Girls Gives Hope is so huge. It's so huge, because your $25 that is your gift to get in. Yeah, you get stuff, but it goes directly to people. And I'll tell you, just the stories that come out of that are shocking. Every girl in this room needs to be a part of it. I think it's December 6th. It happens to be our anniversary service. We got a big day planned for that. But just what God's doing through this church, you want to be a part of it. I'm telling you, nothing that the world values matters to God and to his children. See, I can't be dependent upon the world for anything. Any dependence I put on the world is misguided and will end up slapping my hand. You know the expression, people say, man, well, the good Lord gives, good Lord takes away. It's not in the word, number one. And number two, that's the deceit of the enemy, because that's what the world does. The world gives and the world takes away. And the world gives and the world takes away. And in the world, you can write this down, there are always strings attached. And those strings are what binds our hearts. See, you understand that all the information and all the news and all the reports and everything that we get and the perilous times we're in. You know, it was even, it's been much quoted that it's going to be a dark winter. Well, man, God immediately took me to Ezekiel 34, that launched the vision for this church is Ezekiel 34. But right in the middle of it, in like the teens verses, it says, on a dark and cloudy day. And that's when God took responsibility for his children, his sheep. He said, I'm going to send a shepherd. Man, and he's going to run the beast of the field and the beast of the wilderness. So no longer will my sheep, listen, bear the shame of the heathen. See, we have to understand the heathen feast in the world. God's children, we don't. And what we've got to understand is, in our lives, is that through everything happening in the world today, there's a release of destiny that's happening in the church. And I don't normally talk that way. It's kind of a churchy way to talk, but let me put it a different way. I'm telling you, you're going to realize your future that's ordained of God in this time we're in right now. You know, I heard a quote, and I believe it was an ex-president, you guys could probably Google it or find out who said it. Do it after church, so you get all distracted with Google. But this president said that there were men of great leadership acumen and abilities. That those abilities were never realized because they lived in a time of peace and comfort. And I think about that. I think about right now, we have none of that. Man, I'm telling you, we walk out the door and it's like everything's chaotic. And what's awesome about that is I keep hearing about this chaos that's happening in the world, and I'm thinking, I thrive under chaos. We're like the special teams of the church. We're like, no, let's go make something happen kind of people. And we have to look at it and understand we were born for this hour. See the issues, the tests, the trials that the whole world's going through? Here we go. It's go time. What do? We're going to fight the good fight of faith. We're putting all of our trust, all of our resilience, all of our patience, everything in God. We're not going to trust anything we can see. We're not going to trust anything we feel. Why? Because the world's in turmoil. And we're in it, we're not of it. So we're in the turmoil, it just doesn't take control of us. See, and we live at a time where if we're not in fear, we don't love people. It doesn't make sense. It's counterintuitive to the kingdom. I understand what people are saying. But see, you don't hear anybody talk about, here's how you stay healthy from a nutrition or a fitness aspect. It's all restrictions that we put on us. That's how you stay healthy. It's like, wait a second. Now it becomes counterintuitive to the kingdom. And for me, what I want to live my life where we don't bring that feeling into the church. And because fear is the exact opposite. So much so the word says God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. But what he has given us, now listen, power, love, and a sound mind. See, so that sound mind, let me tell you, equates to me, is take responsibility for your life. See, with that sound mind, God's given us a sound mind. Why? So we can take personal responsibility. I'll take personal responsibility for me. I'll take personal responsibility for my home. I will take personal responsibility for this church. But let me tell you, the bottom line is everyone's got to take responsibility. And that's who we have to be and where we are. See, what God's doing, I believe there's a fire coming upon the church. I believe that's in the church. I believe it's a fire of judgment. And that's not bad. We, as believers in Jesus, land on the right side of judgment. But it is going to burn the chaff off my life. And yeah, you know what? Man, that chaff, see, here's what's interesting, is when I look at the production of my life, I want to produce, I'm competitive. So everything gets heaped up and gets measured. And here's what's interesting, there's wheat and there's chaff. God honors the wheat we produce in our life. The chaff is what the world produces in us. See, so that wheat and that chaff goes on the scale, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look, I am out producing everybody from the weight of the production of my life. And then God burns off the chaff, which weighs more than wheat does. So it's like, shoot. All that chaff got burned off. All I'm left is with this wheat. And that's where I want to be. I'm just telling you, you want to be left with wheat. We don't want to cut corners. Bill Wilson came here 20 years ago. He said, I love this about this church. You guys are taking the steps, the stairs, you're hitting every step. You're not taking the escalator or the elevator. And so many Christians are taking the elevator trying to elevate. They're taking the escalator trying to elevate. And it doesn't work that way in the kingdom. We got to hit every single step. The Bible says line upon line, precept upon precept. See, what Paul said is, I know in part, therefore I preach in part. See, look at it, I'm not the be-all, end-all. And what we have to understand is God is doing a developing work in our lives right now. And it's happening because, let me tell you, we're being tested. All these years that we've been Christians, and it's like maybe it's all the sum of everything God's done in my life up to now is for me to stand this test that we're in right now. And I'm telling you, I believe that to be prophetic. I want to add to that. Well, it's just that may be right. I'm telling you, that's absolutely the heart of God is He's gonna allow tests in your life that you can handle. You go through the third grade, you take a test to go to the fourth grade. You're not taking a 8th grade or a 10th grade test to get to the fourth grade. It's a third grade test to get to the fourth grade. What do? That's promotion. And yeah, you know what, man, I want to be there. You're a freshman in high school, and you're like, man, I want to be a senior. I want to be a senior. Toward the end of your senior year, it's like, no, I want to be a senior again. I want to go back and be a freshman. I want to restart this church. I want to go back to 1992, December of 1992, and restart this church. I'm equipped to do what I'm doing right now. I wasn't equipped then. In 1992, 1993 in this church, everything we did was the first time we ever did it. Nothing was routine. It's like, hey, can we do this? It's like, I don't know. Let me think about it. Let me talk to Sandy. Yeah, let's do it. See, and understand, you guys look at it. We attract people that love motorcycles in this church. You'll say, how did that happen? It's real simple. In 1994, we put up parking signs that said Harleys only. No, I'm not playing. We put them up on a Tuesday. On Sunday, it was full of Harleys. See, what we have to do, we have to look, it's line upon line, it's precept upon precept. It's us getting, what does God want you to get today? Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's got its own problems sufficient therein. What is God doing for you today? What God is doing for you today is he's burning the chaff off your life. He's burning that on your life. Why? So that you can have that idyllic marriage that God's called you to have. See, God's developing you. God's developing me. We're in development right now. He's doing a work in us that's just so spectacular. You know why? And I'll tell you why. The biggest thing is we're faith people. God's doing a work. He's developing us because he's developing us for the life of faith that we need to live from here on out. Man, let me tell you what heaven's going to be. Faith. And you'll say, well, wait a second. No, because you go from the end and you work back on earth as it is in heaven. The just will live by faith. See, heaven's a place of extreme faith. That's what earth needs to be. See, we're faith people. And when we look at it, Jesus is the author and finisher of our faith. That's who Jesus is. Oh, he's my Savior. Oh, he's Lord of my life. Oh, he's my best friend. Let me tell you what he better doggone well be is the author and finisher of your faith. And we like it being the author of our faith. We don't, but the finisher? See, there's things right now that God is burning the chaff off your life that's going to affect you in 10 years. Like today, it might be okay for you to do it. Today, it's like, no, I think that's okay. I think most people are doing that. Even Christians. But see, God's taking things, God's pulling things off your life. God's taking things and removing things from your life for promotion he has down the line in 6 or 8 years for you. See, we have to understand that. We have to look at that. It's almost like, it's like when you take an algebra class, and it's like, why do I have to learn this? You go to algebra 2, and then you go to trigonometry, and you go to the calculus, and it's like, why should I know this? People haven't taken algebra and algebra 2 and trigonometry and get to calculus. They're not saying, why do I need this calculus stuff? Because they get it by then. They get it that it's not just answering questions, it's solving problems. See, that's why God put us on this earth, because the earth is so full of issues and so full of problems, and we're the issue and problem solver. That's who we are. See, that's what the world expects from us. But when we get caught in the same traps and fall into the same holes and get seduced by the same spirits that they are, there's no differentiation. Why does the world need the church? So then the product of that is, generationally, what happens? Generationally, your children are going to be different than your parents. We're raising them, and generationally, they're going to experience different aspects of God and better life than our parents and grandparents could ever. I'm the first preacher in my family. Man, there were gamblers, and there were tugboat operators, and all kinds of other things in my heritage, but now there's a preacher. So now my children and my grandchildren, they love God. They're going to give their lives. But see, that happens the other direction as well. So there's so many people in the world that have been raised to discount God and discount church. That's why it's important. As crummy a job as you think I could ever do, don't talk to your kids poorly about me. Because it's not about me. What that's doing is that's sowing into their lives about the church, about leaders in the church. And it's so easy. It's these armchair people that'll say, well, all they care about is your money. Can I be real honest with you? I could care less about your money. I couldn't care less. See, we have to understand, all I care is you fulfill God's purpose in your life. What that is going to require is resources. It's not about how much money you have in the bank, it's how much seed you have in God's kingdom. See, that's what matters. And if anybody tells you differently, they're absolutely wrong. And you know what? I could stand and tell you that with straight face, and I'm not saying that pridefully. I'm just not built that way. I'm not wired that way. See, we have to look at our lives. We have to understand that God's doing a work in us. Look at Revelation, the 21st chapter and the 5th verse. God's doing a work in us. He's developing in us right now. And now this word today is going to prove that to you, what God's doing in your life. He said, then he sat on the throne and he said, behold, I make all things new. Listen, this is not just a thought that Jesus has. Where is he seated? On the throne. What's he do on the throne? He rules from the throne. He makes decrees and declarations from the throne. So here he is. He sat on the throne. He said, behold, I make all things new. And then he says this. He said, write, for these words are true and faithful. Why do I ask you to underline your Bible? Why do I ask you to circle things? Why do I ask you to highlight? Why do I ask you to take notes? Because it says right there in the word. Write this down because why? It's true and it's faithful. And then he said this, write this down. It is done. And there's exclamation in that. That's a proclamation. It is done. And then he says this, I'm the Alpha and I'm the Omega. I'm the beginning and I'm the end. And then he said, I'll give of the fountain of water of life freely to him who thirsts. See, we're used to going to the world when we're thirsty. We're used to going to the world for trends and for fashion and for styles and for talents and skills and all kinds of things. But Jesus said this, it is done. See, God's given gifts unto men. And the thing about this, I began to pray, and God showed me in the last couple days, and I talked to Pastor Jeff Perry this morning, and we were praying for each other's services and for each other, and I said, here, I want to bounce something off you. God's a giver. He gave us Jesus. He gave us eternal life. He gave us his Holy Spirit. He gave us, which produces fruit in our life, but then he gave us then gifts that are offshoots of the Holy Spirit. There's prophecy. There's tongues and the interpretation of tongues. There's gifts of healing. There's gifts of faith. There's words of knowledge and words of wisdom and discerning of spirits. See, those are things like did you get up to this morning and say, God, I want to activate the gifts of your Spirit in my life. God, stir them up in me. God's given gifts. And he doesn't stop with the gifts of the Spirit. We look at Ephesians 4. He gives gifts unto men. And what he gives us in verse 11, he said, he himself has given some to be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers. If you're a pastor, you're also a teacher. And similarly, if you're a dad, you have to be a teacher to qualify as a dad. So what do you have to do as a dad? You show up every day. You make corrections. You lay down absolutes. You make sure there's guardrails. That's what a teacher does. So if you're a pastor, you're a teacher. But see, we look at this as rank and file, and it's not. But there is order. Everything in God's word, everything in God's kingdom, everything in the body of Christ starts apostolically. That's why the first 12 guys that walk with Jesus are called apostles. Apostles of the Lamb. Why? They were starting the whole shooting match. See, so I'll tell you, and I don't talk about this very often, but Sandy and I walk in an apostolic gifting in our life. See, you know the expression, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail? Have you guys ever heard that? Well, to me, everything looks like a church. I mean, Taylor as a boy, we'd get an old blue or green pickup, and we'd drive down the road, and I'd slow down, and he'd be looking at me, and at first he'd be thinking, man, he's like 10 years old. He's like, what's up? What are you doing? And I'd say, see that right there, Taylor? We could build a great church in that building. Could be a bar. Could be a pool hall. Could be a hospital. It didn't matter. If it was bricks and mortar, it looked like a church to me. Why? Because there's an apostolic gifting in my life. I still do it. We'll drive by. Taylor will pick fun. He'll be driving now, and he'll slow down. He'll say, hey, Dad, we could build a great church in that building. He's picking fun. But see, that's what's in me. And I'd be looking at it going, dear God, slow down. Turn around. Let's go look at it. Okay? And then there's prophets. And you think about Gustavo that comes in. Is there any question in your mind that he's prophetic? Let me tell you what Gustavo is. Gustavo is 100% human being. I have eaten 30 meals with him. I see how that man eats. No, it's like, he doesn't need utensils. He doesn't need plates. He'd just grab a handful of mashed potatoes and eat them and prophesy. And so he doesn't speak English. He'll never understand a thing I'm saying. There's apostles and prophets, evangelists. You look at it, man, you ever met anybody with it? I've got a slice of that in me. I want to confront everybody. Sadie and I went to a golf tournament in Palm Springs one time when we lived in Southern California back in the 80s. I pull up in my Jeep, the top's off, I'm there with my woman, and we're riding through, it's beautiful Palm Springs afternoon. A golf cart pulls up in the lane next to me. It's Bob Hope. I looked at Sadie, and Sadie's like looking at me, give me that look where, don't you dare. I'm like, hey, Mr. Hope, how you doing? He goes, I'm doing good. Man, you got the top off in your Jeep, and you got your woman, and he said something entertaining. He's an entertainer. I said, hey, Bob, you know God loves you? You know, he gave his son Jesus to die, and he pulled off. He ran the red light. He pulled left. But that's in me. I'm triggered to do that. See, and you understand that those are gifts that God's given us. See, the gifts that we look at, we think about gifts as being material so often. It's Christmas coming up. What are you going to give? I remember when my great-grandfather, every Christmas, we'd have to go over to his house, and it really smelled funny, that house. And I realized it's because they're canners. They canned everything. They didn't go to the grocery store. They canned it. And it wasn't even cans. It was jars. And what's bad is I saw this Alfred Hitchcock movie when I was a kid, and we went down into their cellar, and all this stuff is canned, and I'm looking for the brains. I'm looking for where the brains were canned from that movie. That's part of my issue. But why did God give these gifts? See, the question's why. Why did God send his son Jesus? He sent his son Jesus to get us the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit's what he communes with. Okay, I'll teach on that at some point, because that's it. That's the whole shooting match, is to get the Holy Spirit in us. That's the bottom line for God. That's the why. To be led by his Spirit, to be directed by his Spirit, to be filled with his Spirit, so there's no voids in our life. That's what it is for God. So we go to verse 12 in Ephesians 4. It says, for the equipping of the saints for the work of the ministry. Why is God giving these gifts? So that you can be equipped. Why? He's developing you. See, all the development, I'm just telling you, all the development of my life and equipping of my life up to now is for the hour we're living in right now. I'm telling you, this is go time for the body of Christ. And for the edifying of the body of Christ. No, for the equipping saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body, for the building up of the body of Christ. See, so much of when faith speak, almost we're so confident in this. I'm so confident it sounds like it's arrogant. And it's not arrogance, it's confidence. But to the world it sounds as arrogance. And see, till we all come to the unity of the faith, to the knowledge, listen, to the understanding, the intimate knowing of the Son of God. And then there's people who say, well, you know, churches, man, it's full of hypocrites. Man, everybody's a hypocrite. Man, you're not going to find a perfect church because it's full of infallible, it's full of fallible people and full of imperfect people. And I say bull. Let me tell you what this church was during that music today. Let me tell you what you personally experienced in this house today was perfect church. Demons were fleeing. Angelic hosts were being attracted. Fear was being dispelled. Faith was rising. Let me tell you what that is. That's perfection, because perfection doesn't mean no glitches. Perfection means complete in the kingdom. It's a completion that happens in our life. I'm telling you, I'm standing there with Sandy, who's healthy as a horse. My children are all around. One kid's watching from New Jersey. Other kids are here. They're involved in stuff. My grandbaby's texting me from whatever phone that she has. She's 4 years old. She's texting me and she said, look, I don't want my dad to come and pick me up when Mr. O's singing. I want you to pick me up, Rev. So you guys didn't see me through a couple of the songs because I'm going to the junior kids to pick up Kennedy because she texts me. So, man, what is it? This is perfect. Why? Because it's complete. I mean, look who's here. I don't know what he was doing last night. I don't know what he was doing last week. How old are you? I got a good idea what a 19-year-old kid's doing. But guess what? Right here and right now, for these guys, it's perfect. It's complete. And here's what Paul wrote. He said, to the knowledge of the Son of God, listen, to a perfect man. Do you see that? See, that's not maybe someday. That's right here and right now. This is perfect. We're complete. We lack nothing. To the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. Man, the Bible didn't say, hey, Chris, you need to go pray for the sick. It says, hey, Chris, go heal the sick. You're like, shoot. I got to get ready. Why? Because this is God's expectation for our lives. Perfect, complete, lacking nothing, nothing missing, nothing broken. That we should no longer be children. The days of you being satisfied as an immature believer have to be over. No longer children. I can handle my role. I can do my share. You can count on me to be where I'm supposed to be with who I'm supposed to be with, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. That's who we have to be. And no longer children. Now listen, tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine. Let me tell you what YouTube and the world is full of right now are winds of doctrine. What a wind of doctrine is, a teaching without a basis. Where does the wind come from? No, tell me, you're reasonably intelligent. We have no idea where it comes from. We can tell you what direction it's blowing. We can't tell you where it comes from. Man, I'm out in my backyard 2 days ago and this big wind came up. It blew over one of the Christmas decorations in our backyard. And you know what? The person I was with said, where did that wind come from? I'm like, that's a doggone good question. No, Jesus even said, you think you can figure this stuff out? You can't even figure out where the wind comes from. How are you going to figure this stuff out? Just keep watching me. You're going to get it. Tossed to and fro, carried by every wind of doctrine. Every wind of doctrine is out there right now. What's going on in America today? You kidding me? By the trickery of men. You're like, oh my gosh, they're duping us. The world's duping us. Don't kid yourself. The only truth we're going to get is from God's word. Oh, but these are good people. You know what the word says? They're none good, only God. Well, shoot, I can't use that argument. By the trick of men. Now listen to this. In the cunning craftiness of deceitful plotting. See, let me just tell you, whatever's happening today, it has been plotted for years. But what's happening in my life has been being developed and equipping for years. 41 years of God jamming this in me, Reed knew me when I was a brand new Christian. Lived with me. If you'd ask him 41 years ago, man, you see this for Scheer? He'd go, ah. If you squint real hard, if you do this in front of your face and squint, maybe you could see it. But see, the gifts in you, it's being developed in you. You don't like the sound of that, I bet, huh? You got to pour yourself out. You got to become vulnerable, not just to the world. See, we're vulnerable to a virus. So the world wants to restrict us physically to help keep us safe. But the word says, no evil shall befall me, nor any plague come near where I live. The word says, no weapon formed against me will take over. See, whether you get the virus or not, the message from the world is to take over. For it to take over. See, so we've got to be able to discern that. And the Bible even talks about there come a time where they'll call evil good and good evil. So it's evil if we don't have a fear because we don't care about it. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. That's where I have to stop the madness, shut it off, spend times like we did for 20 minutes, 25 minutes with that music. I mean, I'm telling you, it took a bulldozer and just bulldozed all the stuff that had been. Ephesians 4:15 says, but speaking the truth in love may grow up in all things into him who is the head, Christ. We speak the truth in love, and what do? We grow up. But how does that happen? We have to speak the truth in love. We've got to speak what we believe for it to materialize in our lives. That's how that seed is sown in our lives. And you think about it, you're healthy, right? So you don't have to say I'm healthy. You love her, right? So you don't have to say you love her. Both of those are error. Your healthiest day, you know what you speak? Health. God, I fulfill your purpose in my life. God, the days coming up are going to be the days that better than the days that I've had. Yeah, but what's going to happen? Doesn't matter to me. Doesn't. Verse 16 says, from whom the whole body joined and knit together, where every joint supplies. See, so your supply comes from where you're joined. I can't walk into where you work and demand a paycheck because they said you're not joined here. We pay the people here. That's how the kingdom is. See, and where the joint works is I've got one hand gripped to somebody that's above me that's pulling me up, and I've got one hand gripped to someone below me that I'm pulling up. See, that's how this body works. That's how God works in us, where every joint supplies, according to the effective working by where every part does its share. And you look at it and you think, well, but I've been busy. My work, it's just been crazy at work. I don't care how crazy it is at work. I don't care how your schedule is, your children's schedule. You've got to stay connected and joined. That's how it works. Otherwise, you're going to look up and go, I don't know what happened. See, because what God's looking for in his children is to take, what I'm looking for in my children, just take responsibility for your share. Make your bed, brush your teeth, put your dishes up, mow the lawn, whatever is age appropriate, they have to do their share. We have to raise our children that way, to take personal responsibility, because we've got a generation of people that don't know how to do that. And I don't know the age group or what that generation's called. It's a lot of people in this country. that don't know what their personal responsibility is. Because when we do our share, here's an interesting truth. When we do our share, it causes growth. Is that interesting? See, we can't manufacture growth. If we're not planning, if you're not plugged in and joined and connected, we're not going to grow. So we say, well, man, the first Sunday of December 6th, there's 101. Well, man, I've been here 3 years. Why should I go? All it does is just walks you into that place of connection where you're joined. Well, I'm just visiting. I go to another church. Oh, great. What church you go to? I go to this church. What's the pastor's name? Great guy. That's his name? Because I got ripped off. I'm Bill Scheer. I want to be great guy. But that growth, let me tell you what that growth does. It brings edification to his body. It builds up his body, makes his body strong. See, that's from whom the whole body joining it together, every joint supplies. See, we invest in people because we're equipping people. That's the will of God when we invest equipping in people. Hey, can you help me with my electric bill? Yeah, I can, but my goodness, at some point you're going to have to figure out how to live without electricity if that's how you're going to live your life. I don't know what good I'm doing for you. So what do we want to do? We want to connect you. Hey, girls, you need to go to Guts Girls. Why? Because you need to be connected. Hey, guys, you want to give toward it. Why? Because you need to be connected. Well, it's all about money. Shut up. It's not how much money we have in the bank. It's not about how many followers we have. It's how much seed we have in the kingdom. That's what Guts Girls Gives Hope is. It's seed in the kingdom. So you're going to be walking into fields that it doesn't even seem like you've sown into them and you're reaping a harvest. See, that's what you've had. How many guys have experienced promotion in your life? Man, a lot of promotions just unexpected. It was unintended. It just happened. Why? Because you had seed in the ground. Do you know how much seed you have in the ground? It's remarkable. What's your future going to hold? I don't know, but I want to go with you because it's going to be incredible. Why? Because the seed you have in the kingdom. It's not how much money you have. It's not how many buildings you built. It's how much seed you have in the ground. See, you know what that does? That levels the playing field. Now, you're not better than me. I'm not better than you. We're just all sowers. And what the Bible says is God supplies seed to the sower and bread for food. In Hebrews 11:6, the writer says, but without faith, it's impossible to please him. For he who comes to God, listen to this, for he who comes to God must believe that he is. I think we're there, but it doesn't stop there. It's like a drum roll. And the crescendo comes up, and he's the rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Do you believe that he is? Sure you do. Do you believe he's the rewarder? What does he reward? He rewards seed in the kingdom. That's what he rewards. It's not all the shiny stuff we want to show him. And he's the rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Man, that's who God is. So he's the reward, and he also rewards us. I thank my God for you in every remembrance of you. That's what Paul wrote to the Philippians. And in every prayer of mine, making requests for you all with joy. I'll tell you, I can speak for Sandy. We love everything about the church. We love all the sheep. We love the goats. I'm not kidding you. We got our share of them. We love them. Sheep you lead, goats you got to smack in the forehead with a 2x4. For your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now. Oh my gosh, you ask these guys across the first few rows, ask them how long they've been here. 12, 15, 20, 25 years. It's like, oh. But then he writes, he says, being confident to the point of arrogance of this very thing, that he who's begun a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. See, confident in the work God's doing in our lives to impact this generation, the people on the earth today, with all their problems, with all their issues. That's why the motto of this church is just help people win. That's what we want to do. Is your life right with God? Is Jesus the Lord of your life? I want to help you win.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Guts Church YouTube channel. I'm Pastor Chano Trevino, the assistant pastor here at Guts Church. And on behalf of our leadership team, our staff, our church, it's our hope that this message met you right where you are. If it did, I bet there's someone you know who could use the encouragement of this message in their life. And you sharing it with them could make all the difference. The mission of Guts Church is to help people win. And you can be a part of that simply by sharing, or better yet, inviting someone to tune into Guts Church online with you every week. Take that next step to be a part of what God is doing right now in this moment in time by being committed to showing up, placing a premium on God's word, and receiving all that God has for you. You can share this message, gather your friends for services, make it a priority to make this the place you want to be. God has so much for you. I truly believe that. We love you. We're praying for you. Can't wait to see you soon.